Okay, so for anyone that clicked on this video, do you guys miss this stuff at all? Or how about this stuff here? I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that most of you who clicked on this video have removed these bottles from your memory and really don't care about them anymore, and have probably moved to better alternatives, whether they're local or international. Because a good majority of Canadians feel that it is helpful and somewhat helpful to still avoid US made goods. And that's causing this guy here, we all know who he is, to make his plea to Canadians to put it back on the shelves. So we're gonna hear his sob story, and has his tone changed from last year? Nah, not really. I mean, he still doesn't want to talk about the tangerine tyrant, putting on tariffs and everything, because we all know who he voted for. But I want to get started on this right away because his interview with CBC is quite a long one. But before I start, I just want to make a bit of an announcement. The Gmail account that everybody's been contacting me at, I will no longer be using it. Instead, I've moved my contact email over to a system that's not based in the United States. So if anybody has my Gmail account bookmarked or saved, I will no longer be monitoring that email. Instead, you can send emails to me via contact@guardtheleaf.com. I registered the domain name guardtheleaf.com last year, and I never thought I would actually use it. But I think now's the time to start using it. For anybody wondering, I switched my email over to the Proton system, which is based in Switzerland. So if anybody's actually interested in switching over to Proton, I'll leave a referral link in my description below. And for anybody that does sign up, just a disclaimer, I do get a little bit of a credit on it. Not cash, but a credit towards my bill when it comes to Proton. And so do you. So check it out if you're thinking about moving away from a US-based system. Okay, let's get started with the report from CBC first. No wait, CTV first.
While the Americans have made it clear pulling their booze from our shelves is a trade irritant, most Canadians still believe boycotting U.S. goods is helpful. Running a big softball tournament this weekend has Thomas Ray stocking up on Canadian coolers. A boycott of American liquor hasn't changed things for him.
I just stick to what's available and what's delicious. Mostly Niagara Falls stuff.
And you're happy to support Canada.
Super happy to support Canada.
I'm really happy to hear this because there's a lot of nonsense that's going on out there. I'm not denying that Canadians, in Alberta and Saskatchewan, and even the provinces that were selling the leftover stock of US liquor, people did buy it, but it's not going to be at any volume that it was before. A while ago, I did read out one of our viewers' email, and he works at a New Brunswick liquor store. And in one of his email replies after I read out his email, he did mention that part of his job is actually to dust off the US bottles, simply because nobody's buying them.
More than a year after provinces started pulling American booze from Canadian shelves and the U.S. made its irritation clear.
It is outrageous that Canada will not put U.S. spirits on the shelf. It is insulting.
It is.
And disrespectful.
New polling by Nanos for CTV News shows most Canadians maintain boycotting U.S.-made goods and travel to the U.S. is helpful to strengthening Canada's bargaining position. 53% believe it's helpful and 29% somewhat helpful. Not much changed when asked the same question in October.
So realistically, not much has changed since last year. And we have to remember all of these US businesses and tourism officials that said this was just hype, or that is just a phase. I had a hater email me once and said, why do you keep reminding people of these situations? Like the guy who said that was hype. You sound like a broken record. And this guy was from the US, by the way. I mean, he said, we don't need your tourism dollars. Right. But I keep repeating this because I don't want people to forget. I don't want to forget how we were treated. I don't want to forget how we were brushed off. And I don't want to forget that US citizens thought this was just going to, get all better and everyone would just rush back to their country. Some US businesses and tourism officials still believe that we're going to come back. And everything's going to be roses and lavender. But these people in the US who believe this, they truly don't understand how pissed off Canadians are. So as a Canadian that is pissed off, I'm going to keep reminding people what certain US citizens said about Canada.
I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that there hasn't really been significant progress in the trade discussions with the United States.
I don't go there. I have family there. Haven't visited in a hot second.
I won't spend any of my extra money on anything from the United States.
It gives us leverage. We should know. We can't give that up.
I think they should bring back American products, definitely. A good bourbon once in a while never hurt anyone.
Seriously, is this guy even old enough to drink? Anyways, like I said earlier, there's still going to be some people that are buying US alcohol, and they would buy it if it comes back on the shelf. But as long as this guy is whining and complaining that we don't have it on the shelves, then I know it's doing a lot of damage to the United States. Everything else is just noise.
The American liquor lobby would appreciate that last remark after seeing a 63 to 67% reduction of exports to Canada.
We've seen a reduction in jobs, and small craft distilleries in the United States are feeling that pressure. Some of them are starting to shut down.
But the majority of provinces are sticking with their boycotts. Ontario's LCBO is one of the biggest liquor buyers in the world. 2 weeks ago, the Premier said the alcohol only goes back on the shelf when the U.S. removes their tariff.
And it should absolutely stay in place. And if Howard Lutnick thinks it's insulting, well, I'm glad. But even eventually, if the liquor does come back on the shelves, their reputation is already damaged. Now let's move on to the main event. Chris Swonger is making an appearance again, and he also has a very punchable face. But his message compared to last year has not changed at all, saying that his industry is distinct, it brings people together, they're neutral. Well, you can't be neutral. You voted for the Tangerine Tyrant, and so did a lot of people in Kentucky. So let's get started with the interview.
Is the President and CEO of the Distilled Spirits Council of the United States, Chris Swonger. Sir, it's good to see you. Thank you for being here today, sir.
Thanks for having me, David, and hello to my friends in Canada.
Well,
I don't think you have very many friends in Canada. Just saying.
Well, hello to you too, sir. A 63% decline in exports to Canada. I mean, what has that meant for American producers? Have they had to look for other markets, or are they just eating losses?
It has been devastating, and as our exports are down, the liquor control boards in Canada have long been really important partners for the U.S. distilled spirits industry. So we are suffering. We are making our case to the Trump administration strongly.
You mean the guy that you voted for, right? It is on record in a previous video that Chris Swonger said that he does support the U.S. administration, and that the Tangerine Tyrant is doing the best that he can for the United States. He also said he wants a level playing field, so I mean, that's a dead giveaway right there. But I don't mean to sound like an ass, but did anybody else have a smile on their face when he said that it's been devastating to their industry? Because let's not forget who started this. No matter what this guy says, or Nutlick, or anybody else says, the liquor was pulled off the shelves because they put on the tariffs, and also threatened our country. These guys here will continue to gaslight us, saying that we're the problem, and we're being unfair, when they conveniently forget about the tariffs and the threats to our country. So to this guy and Nutlick and everybody else, you guys can go screw yourself. I remember the history of what happened, not your history where you're trying to construe.
In hopes that some common ground can be found. Our poor industry, and when I say our poor industry, the U.S. and Canadian distilled spirits industry is so intertwined closely together with rich history and economic vitality for both. American consumers love Canadian whiskey, and historically, we've seen Canadian consumers appreciate American whiskey and American distilled spirits. So we're an unfortunate victim, on behalf of the U.S. distilled spirits.
All right, I'm sorry. I gotta pause again. You are not a victim of this. You are the cause of this. Because the Tangerine Tyrant might have put on the tariffs, and he might have threatened our country, but you were the ones that put him in the office. I don't know about you guys. I'm so tired of this gaslighting and playing the victim. I mean, I'm pretty sure this Chris Swonger guy came onto CBC trying to get some sympathy from Canadians with his, pathetic speech. But for me, when I listen to this, I'm only a minute and something into it. I'm already pissed off. But let me know in the comments, are you sick and tired of this gaslighting as well? If you are, let your frustrations out in my comments. I'm fine with it. Now let's see if I can get through this whole video without blowing up on Chris.
Industry, we recognize and understand the great emotions that are at play in the broader political divide between our both governments. And on behalf of the distilled spirits industry, we wish that wasn't the case, and we apologize. And at some point, we hope things will get better.
Okay, what are you actually apologizing for? Apologizing for your vote? Or apologizing for causing this mess? But either way, apology not accepted.
Because it is having a direct impact on jobs and economic vitality on the provinces Canadian consumers, and we're going to do our part to keep pushing ahead and try to build a bridge.
Well, look, I'm a person who always had a bottle of Tito's vodka in my freezer, and I do not these days. I found a Canadian alternative that I like, and I'm staying there until things change, right? Because obviously living in Ontario, there's no choice. But what are the American government officials saying to you when you tell them the effectiveness of this and call for, kind of a return to normal? Because the auto sector's written a letter to Jameson Greer today saying this needs to stop. You're saying it needs to stop. The economic damage of the circular firing squad here is pretty evident in all the data. Like, why don't they seem to see it when you tell them this data?
Now get ready for an answer that doesn't even answer the question that he asked.
Look, we recognize that the Trump administration is certainly focused on, very, very big, significant issues from their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Our industry, we don't roll left, we don't roll right. We're the cocktail party.
No, you roll on the right side. You, as well as many of the distillers, decided to vote for the Tangerine Tyrant. Your industry is not neutral. And I've done previous reports where these distiller CEOs are not even blaming the US administration for what's going on. They're blaming their own forecasting, or blaming Canada all for this, which tells me that they're under the thumb of the US administration. So don't tell me that you're neutral. You're not. And with all this interruption, this is going to be like a 20+ minute video. I'm not even halfway through this yet.
And
you poor straight.
Yeah. Can bring people on different political divides together. And I think our industry can play a role in building that bridge. We have been emphatic. I had the privilege of testifying before USTR hearing just yesterday and just registered the great pain to American distillers. And, we're going to keep at it and doing our part. We work very closely with the Distilled Spirits Council's counterparts in Canada. It's called Spirits Canada. And we're just going to keep pushing at it. But it's having a direct impact. And I hope, at some point, there'll be an opportunity for the provinces to reconsider and put American spirits back on the shelves.
Well, I think there's only one way that you're going to get your alcohol back on our shelves. And I'm going to let somebody else say it.
All of them. 100% of the tariffs. No tariffs, no threat of tariffs. Then you can have the booze back.
Well said, Wob. And I love that he did it with a smile as well. So, Chris, not a chance in hell that it's going to be back on the shelves anytime soon.
It's been well over a year. Mm-hmm. That would be a great olive branch. But I also recognize there are strong views in Canada, and it's related to kind of the broader posturing by the U.S. government. And, this would be a good news story north and south of the border.
No, this would only be a good story south of the border. For us north of the border, we don't want it. And there is no benefit of us putting your liquor back on the shelves. It is leverage for us. And we have to let the United States know that their bullshit is not going to be tolerated.
And, I've heard anecdotally that Canadians aren't visiting the United States as much anymore for tourism and so forth. So we understand the emotions are high. But if you get a Canadian brother and an American sister together at a nice tavern or a nice bar and have a great Canadian whiskey and an American whiskey cocktail, we can break through this tough dynamics that our both governments are in right now.
No, that's all I got to say. But I do have to correct you again on one thing, Chris. You said both governments. It's not our government. It's your government. Your government is the one that's starting all of this, not ours. Ours is just responding, and so are our citizens. So don't make it sound like it's a government-to-government problem, because it's not. It's your own government, and your people as well. The 77 million people who voted for him, which includes you as well. Not even halfway there yet. For those of you who actually like my longer videos, well, you're going to get one today.
Well, I don't ask this question to sound unsympathetic to like 1,000 Americans losing their jobs. We've had a lot of people in the steel sector, the aluminum sector, the auto sector lose jobs on this side of what a lot of Canadians see as sort of a pointless exercise by the Trump administration, because we've built things together and that's all being disrupted. People are going to look at this and say, you're feeling the pain, and think, good. this is what America needs to go through so it will come to its senses. And the idea of lifting the liquor bans without any sign of goodwill from the Trump administration, I think would be a tough sell in a lot of the provinces that are sustaining them.
No, and I understand that. I've heard from many Canadians, and having the privilege to participate in Canadian media, and I understand the emotions are high. I think the pain is on both sides, depending on the sector, and it's just really unfortunate. I'll say this: we will not waver in terms of our efforts helping the Trump administration understand how vital our trade is. And the Canadian and American hospitality economies have thrived for many, many years.
Again, he has to refer back to history. We got so much history together, and we've had generations of like partnerships and whatever else. But relationships do end. And when a relationship ends, nothing in the past matters. And at least for me, I'm starting to realize that we were in an abusive relationship with the United States, and we just tolerated it. I mean, does a true friend like put you down? Call your money funny money? Or only care about you when you don't spend your money in their country? That's not a true friendship. And for me, that's not a history I want to continue. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me on this or not.
All related to restaurants and bars and the liquor control boards, the revenue that it brings. It's all been an important American-Canadian or Canadian-American success story. And we got to get back to that at some point, and we're going to push hard on this side of the border and work in collaboration with our Canadian distillers as well, having that conversation with the Canadian government officials.
Do you wonder, sir, that habits change as different options are removed from the shelves and people find replacements? Someone who may have bought California Red is now buying maybe Spanish Rioja, and they're looking for other things. Are you worried that the consumption habits just don't slingshot back when and if this ever gets resolved? Because if this persists for 3 more years and President Trump shows no signs of shifting on this, what do you think about that?
Listen, brand building's hard, and when consumers fall in love with a particular brand like you have with Tito's, who is a great company, by the way, but you've had to shift because you don't have access to Tito's anymore. That is one of the risks. So whenever we get back on the shelves, certainly it's probably going to take some time.
Okay, for some people, it might take some time. And eventually, the liquor will be back on the shelves. I mean, let's say down the road, Tangerine Tyrant gets tossed out, a Democratic president comes in, apologizes, and the United States hope things goes back to normal. I'm just being realistic here. I mean, eventually, I think the liquor will go back on the shelves. But it's going to need a new Democratic president and a lot of apologizing and all the tariffs gone. But the question I have is, do you think the sales will actually be the same as before? Because I don't. And the main reason why is because I think there's been enough damage that people are just repulsed by the US alcohol right now. Not just the alcohol, but the tourism destinations, any other products, and for some, the people. So Chris, having your alcohol back on our shelves is not going to be the magic potion for you. Because I don't think things are going to go the way they were before.
To reintroduce American distilled spirits products to Canadian consumers. I'll say this, and I say this with warmth in my heart.
Yeah, fuck your warmth in the heart. I don't give a shit. And I think I speak for some Canadians that are watching this right now. We had a funny chat in the Discord server, and some of the people in the Discord were saying that I've been a lot more fired up lately, and it's more natural. And there's multiple things from that. I mean, one, I'm no longer reading a script. So everything I'm saying right now is just what I'm saying. And in turn, you're actually seeing what GTL is like in real life. But at least for this guy, the punchable face guy on the screen right now, I've been covering this guy for over a year now. And it's the same message that he said 1 year ago. Not taking responsibility, saying that saying that they're a distinct industry and that his industry brings people together. But this is just my opinion. Your industry, it creates alcoholics. And there are dozens of other industries that are more important than yours. On a side note, I'm actually really enjoying this no script thing. I mean, the snarky side is coming out of me, and the sarcasm. And my wife actually says I'm starting to sound like myself when I'm making my videos. And not like somebody reading out a speech.
Despite everything, American consumers continue to love and appreciate Canadian whiskey and Canadian distilled spirits. Canadian whiskey has played a critical role in the history and on palates of Americans, and that hasn't wavered one bit. And we'll continue to do that. Now, hopefully at some point, that bridge can be rebuilt and we can get back on the shelves at the liquor control boards. We're appreciative of Saskatchewan and Alberta. Those are two provinces that have maintained keeping American spirits on the shelves. I know the politics are a little bit different on one side of the country, Canada versus the other.
Hey, don't put BC together with Alberta. Our politics are not the same. I don't have a premier that's trying to separate from Canada. And that's not a dig at Albertans. In fact, I do hope this data leak thing that happened really blows up in your premier's face. Hopefully you guys can get her out.
That's the same in the United States as well. But we're going to be persistent and keep at it, and we're going to continue to work hard with the Trump administration to try to get this resolved.
Well, just one last question before we let you go, because look, I know this is hitting Kentucky hard, it's hitting Tennessee. You know, a lot of this is an outside share of their industry. But when Howard Lutnick and others testify about this, they talk about the measures the Canadians have taken as a provocation and an unreasonable move by the Canadian provincial governments, when they're just getting hammered by arbitrary actions by the United States. I mean, Donald Trump had another round of tariffs struck down by a trade court this afternoon. I mean, do they not see or understand that they're the aggressor party in this, that everything was fine until it wasn't, and they were the ones who took the first action? Is that awareness not sunk in Washington?
Now, this question is legit, and it's what I've been saying all along. We have been reacting. We are not the cause. So this host is actually just asking, does the U.S. government realize that they are the cause of this? Listen to how Chris doesn't even answer the question.
Well, let me just say, again, we're the cocktail party, and we like to maintain that. Obviously, there's views within this administration about longstanding trade deficits. I don't have expertise in that. I just know that U.S., Canadian, and Mexican distilled spirits are part of the USMCA trade agreement. I know there's going to be negotiations underway for maybe a revised or an updated USMCA, and that could be a platform to get at least this industry back to the table.
The original question was, does the United States government realize that they're the aggressor? Absolutely no answer from Chris. So if you can't answer that question, then I have zero respect for you.
That will benefit American consumers, American distillers, but at the same time, hopefully benefit the Canadian hospitality economy as well. Because as I understand it, the Canadian hospitality economy has suffered as well. Yep. The provinces may have not have raised as much revenue that they typically deliver. And this industry, we do have an opportunity to kind of break through the tough ceiling that exists between the broader political entities between our two governments. And we have a saying that we've been talking about for 5-6 years, and it's toast, not tariffs.
Well, you should have thought about that saying when you voted for the Tangerine Tyrant. I mean, don't give me that bullshit. If you've been saying this saying for like 5-6 years or whatever you just said, and you still voted for this guy, then your saying means absolutely nothing.
And we can add that toast, not refusing to put spirits on liquor control board shelves. But listen, we recognize it's tough. And with all greatest appreciation and respect to our friends and brothers and sisters in Canada, just know the U.S. distilled spirits industry, we understand, we're leaning in, we're trying to do our best to play a productive role to benefit both the Canadian economy and the American economy. Well, and pallets of consumers on both sides of the border.
Well, look, toast, not tariffs. I think a lot of Canadians could drink to that, but we got to get to the no tariffs phase first. Chris Swonger, it's good to meet you, sir.
Finally done with this asshole. I hope I don't have to cover him for another half a year. But I wanted to show this everybody, because like, it's what, 15 months now? The message is still the same, and they're still playing the victim. But nowhere in his 12-minute or 13-minute used car salesman speech, no offense to used car salesmen, did he mention the fact that his industry overwhelmingly voted for the Tangerine Tyrant. That is a key detail that he keeps skipping over. And that's something that we, the outside people, we're not going to fall for it. We're not going to forget about this as well. I'm not going to forget that these guys voted them in. And I'm also not going to forget that they came back begging to us. And I'm also not going to forget that they played the victim. So let me know in the comments below. Do you agree with my assessment on this? Or am I off base? I don't know. I'm just kind of saying what I see. But the only thing I have to say to Chris, if he's watching this, is thoughts and prayers, man. Thoughts and prayers. To close off this video, I would like to thank Chris for posting this on the Guard the Leaf Hay Cafe page. And Chris took this photo from Lake Patricia in Jasper, Alberta. I have to say that the people contributing to the backdrops, you are actually helping the international people decide where they want to go in Canada. So I want to thank you again, Chris, for sharing this with the community. Now, I know some people are going to say, hey, I didn't hear the co-host the whole video. Well, she's here, and this is her now, passed out on my desk. I know that's no fun for you guys because you don't hear her meowing, so I'll leave you guys with this video as I close this one. If you found any value in anything I said today, or you want to hear more from a Canadian and international perspective without the US media bias, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below. That way you'll be notified of my future videos. And if you want to see more of my videos, check out the ones that are going to show up on your screen shortly. Thanks, everyone. I know this was a longer one, but I appreciate it if you're still here, as it really does help the algorithm. Thanks, everyone. I'll catch you in the next one.